What's good, YouTube? This is BoxingWave, and we are back with another fight breakdown. Next Saturday, May 14th, Jermell Charlo is going to have his rematch against Brian Castano for Undisputed at 154, all right? They had their rematch. They had their first fight last year. Very controversial draw. I mean, the fight was very competitive. The fight was very close, but there was a judge that scored it from 117 to 111 for Jermell Charlo, which was a bit ridiculous. All right. Me personally, the way I saw the first fight, I thought the first fight was close. I thought Jermell Charlo had the biggest moments, the biggest rounds that he won, being able to hurt and chase down Castano. But Castano was more consistent than me. I thought Castano won more rounds. All right. I scored it maybe, with a couple of swing rounds in there, 7 rounds to 5 or 8 rounds to 4 for Castano. Even though Jermell had the biggest round, was able to hurt Castano a few times in that that fight. Think Castano was more consistent, right? So we're gonna talk about what the fighters need to do in order to win this rematch, and I think there's adjustments that they can both make in order to win this fight. All right, Jermell is 31 years old. He's about 6 foot tall, 73-inch reach, he has about 36 professional fights, 34 wins, 18 knockouts, and his knockouts are more recent knockouts. He was never really a knockout artist until he got with Derrick James, and just about everybody he beat since Derrick James, he's knocked out except Austin Trout. All right, even though he dropped him twice in their fight. All right, so Jermell Charlo has been a huge KO artist in the past few years. About at least 5 or 6 years now, Jermell has been pretty much knocking out everybody he's fought. All right, has a loss against Tony Harrison, which he avenged in their rematch by stopping him in a rematch. All right, and he has a draw against Castano. All right, Castano, 32 years old. I think he's about 5'8", maybe 5'8", 67-inch reach. All right, so he has the height and reach disadvantage, but he makes up with knowing how to close a gap in between him and his opponents. He's usually shorter than everybody he faces, and with high volume, intelligent pressure. All right. He has about 17 professional fights with 12 knockouts, but he is a very experienced amateur. I mean, we really don't have to base much on anything but the first fight. So if you want to go back, watch the first fight, and you can see exactly what both fighters need to do. Now, what I like from Jermell Charlo in the first fight was he was able to time Castano with hooks in between Castano's combinations. And we should expect more of that from Jermell. Jermell made a pretty good use of his jab. I think he can do more with his jab, but he was able to make good use of the jab. Nice overhand rights and nice right hands that went through the guard of Castano, who's usually fighting out of a high guard. So he was able to get some punches through with that. From the outside, he was able to connect with some good body shots, and he was able to, at times, to use the ring and pivot around Castano, who's usually coming forward and trying to trap him. All right. The thing is with Jermell, it seemed to me that he was never really trapped in the fight. It seemed like whenever his back was against the ropes for a major part of this fight, he kind of wanted to be there because he wanted to catch and counter Castano in between his punches, his flurries. And at points, he was able to connect with that and follow up with some big shots, nearly knocking down Castano at times, right? So he hurt Castano a few times in this fight, but not enough to put him away, not even enough to put him down, all right? But he had some big rounds in that fight. So Jermell was showing his power and, was doing a good job in timing and trying to set up Castano with some big shots. But there's a few key things that I think Jermell needs to work on for this rematch if he wants to win this rematch, which I'm sure he does, and become undisputed at 154. What he needs to do is we need feints. All right, we didn't see any feints at all in this fight, and at the time where he was controlling, or at least staying long range with Castano, he was throwing jabs, he was throwing overhand rights, but he wasn't really feinting. He would just throw the jab, and Castano was able to time, counter, slip, and then step in and then work on the inside, which is where he wants to be since he's shorter and has a really short reach. So we need some feints for Charlo. You can't just keep throwing the jab, throwing the jab, throwing the jab, and like fake it a little. Like, let's get probe a little bit, touch with that lead hand, do more work with the lead hand. Also, let's get some feints in there, to fake Castano out a little bit so he won't be as willing to just step in. You know what I'm saying? Another thing for Jermell Charlo that I want to see is I want to see him go to the body a little bit more. I think when he was just going with the 1-2, the 1-2 over and over, it started to become predictable. And then Castano was able to time him and know when to slip and counter and get on the inside. And I just think that going to the body a little bit more from the outside, especially from the outside, it's more scoring shots, and it's just more punch variation. Like, you're not just doing the same thing over and over again. So I want to see more body shots from Jermell Charlo. Also, control the distance a little bit more. I know he wanted to be on the ropes at times. I know he wanted to be in the corner at times. But use the ring like you were doing really well when you had that distance and space from Castano. So at times, don't put your back to the ropes so much. All right. There's other things like you can do except just trying to trap or set traps for Castano by throwing the left hook on the ropes. At some point it kind of became predictable. So use that distance, work the jab, feint, probe a little bit, shoot that right hand to the body, not just the overhand right or not just the straight right through the guard, or the right cross or whatever. Just give us more, variations and more options and stuff like that. Let's see more different types of punches, and let's see you control the distance a little better and try to keep that, that fight in the center of the ring a little bit more. And I think the key and his biggest punch, like we seen him hurt Castano and land some big overhand rights. We see him hurt him with the hook, but use the uppercut. There was times where Castano was actually marching straight in with that high guard. So instead of just looking for the right cross to, punch through that guard or with the left hook around the guard, throw that uppercut as he's stepping in, because there was time where Castano was open to get hit with an uppercut. I think if Jermell actually connected with a big uppercut, that is a punch that Castano won't see coming with that high guard. And I think if you're going to knock him out, which is what Jermell was going for, that would be the punch because he won't see it coming. So in Jermell, on his case, there's plenty of things that I think he's capable of doing and plenty of adjustments that he can make in order to have more success in this fight. Now, Castano, to me, I compare him to like 154 version of Sean Porter, but better. All right, big pressure fighter, a high punch output, but very much more intelligent boxer in my opinion. He makes the punches count. He doesn't really waste many punches, even though he's throwing a lot of punches. It's more about him being precise and being accurate. You know what I'm saying? And he likes to switch it up as far as he's growing up top. He goes to the body a lot. He isn't so predictable because he's giving you different punch variations. He's using a jab to close the gap, and then when he's closing the gap on you and he's throwing his combinations, you're going to get an uppercut, you're going to get a hook, you're going to get combinations to the body, you're going to get all kind of things with it. He's feinting, he's changing levels. He's doing much more than the average pressure fighter out there. He's moving his head, he's giving you different looks. You know what I'm saying? And he's doing a lot at once on top of making every punch count. So that's what makes him so much better than a Sean Porter. I know he isn't like multi, 2-time or 3-time champion or anything like that, but he's a very good fighter. And I knew going into the first fight that he was going to be Jermell's hardest test, even more so than Tony Harrison because of his style. Very, very good pressure fighter, and he knows how to close the gap between him and these longer, taller fighters. He's very good at doing that. He has very quick feet, and great balance, and very durable on top of that. As you can see, he got hit with some big shots, but never went down. And this is the first fighter that hasn't gone down against Jermell Charlo in a very, very long time, since Charlo has been with Derrick James, and that says a lot. So with Castano, in my opinion, I don't think there's much that he needs to change outside of a couple of things. When he is, or if he does, get Jermell on the ropes, and Jermell's back is against the ropes, and he's teeing off and he's throwing those combinations, shorten the combinations up a little bit, because there were times where he would throw 4 or 5 punch combinations without anything from Jermell in return. And I felt like his chin was just completely exposed, and that's how he got clipped a few times in that fight. So when you're throwing the combinations, be a little bit more conscious of what may be getting thrown back at you. So I think that's one of the key things, the major things that he needs to change. Shorten those combinations up. Throw the 2 punches, but stay on guard. Be mindful of what's coming back at you, because you already know Jermell is trying to time you and catch you with a shot, a counter in between those punches that you're throwing at him. That's one thing. Another thing is, I noticed that Jermell, he's in and out of the high guard. But when he is in the high guard and you're shooting your jab, Jermell likes to parry his left hand down to his waist. So if he's parrying down, what you want to do is you're coming in, and when you're throwing, fake that right hand. Since you go to the body so much, fake that right hand to the body and loop it up top and catch him with a big overhand right while he's parrying down. We seen that in a fight between Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley. Fake it to the body, make him parry low, and then hit him with an overhand right up top. And I think I've seen plenty of opportunities in that first fight where Jermell will parry down to his waist, and you can catch him with clearly open up top with a big overhand right, which might not, I don't know if that would knock him down, but it would definitely hurt, and it would sway the judges in a really close competitive fight if you can land those kind of big shots like that. Another thing too, when you're trading hooks with Charlo, there was a point where Castano actually hurt Charlo with a left hook because they traded. Castano kept that right hand up. When you keep that right hand up, protect yourself when you're hooking. Because Charlo is definitely trying to hook with you. So I'm saying, just be a little bit cautious with the timing. You want to hook first, but you also want to protect yourself from what's getting thrown back at you. So keep that extra hand up tight. Keep that guard tight. When you have that guard up, keep it really tight. And watch out for the uppercut, because I'm sure these guys are probably looking at the tape of the first fight and looking for different counters. And I think the uppercut is the money punch. That's my money punch for Jermell Charlo. And I think Castano, the money punch for him is the overhand right, catching Jermell parrying down to his waist. I think that the rematch is going to be a very good fight. And again, there's plenty of adjustments that I think both fighters can make, especially Jermell. I think there's plenty more that he can do to improve. I have Jermell winning this one, though. I have him winning because I think that he's been in a rematch before where he's avenged himself. I think there's things that he's going to work on. I think if he keeps the fight in the center of the ring more and doesn't rely on setting traps on the ropes so much, I think there's times and opportunity he should do it, but not so much of the fight he should be doing. I think he did it way too much. Let's see some feints. Let's see him keep some distance between him and Castano in the center of the ring. And I think if he uses that jab, he feints a little bit, he does more in the center of the ring, and pick his shots a little, give us more punch variation, more different looks and combinations, I think he's going to be able to win and beat Castano in this rematch, all right? I also think if it does go to a decision, I think it will be close again. If it does go there, Charlo was a big knockout artist, so I think there's always that chance he might knock out Brian Castano in the rematch and win by that. But if it does go to a points decision, I'm still leaning towards Charlo, because I think there's things that he can adjust, ways that he can adjust, and they're realistic adjustments. you know. Whereas Castano, I think we saw exactly what he brings to every fight, you know. He's a very good boxer and doesn't make many mistakes. He made a few in the fight, but not major mistakes. I think there's more that Charlo can do to capitalize in this on Castano in this rematch, all right? So anyway, that's my breakdown of the fight. I won't be able to cover the fight live, unfortunately. If something changes, then I will. But I'll definitely give you a post-fight review right after the fight, all right? So I'm out of here. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, share the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.